I've ordered for the both of us. No objections, I assume. I'm sure you trust my taste. Okay, let's get down to business. I'm guessing you don't actually have any urgent business with Tartaglia, per se. You just want information, right? Wanna take a guess? Of course you'd say that. You shouldn't underestimate Counselor Tartaglia, you know. That's right. I'm sure you've heard of the Snezhnaya by now. Well, he's busy preparing some paperwork for their next meeting. They'll be discussing yet another extension to Project Stuzha. It's basically all anyone cares about in Vecha these days. Yeah, he's more of the shoot first, ask questions later sort, isn't he? It all started with a very detailed letter that Capitano left for the jester, Piero, before leaving for Natlan. In that letter, he detailed the future arrangements for his subordinates. All of his key people were reassigned to Tartaglia. I guess he'd already prepared to leave us for good all the way back then. But Piero didn't reveal the contents of the letter until the events in Natlan had concluded. That was his reaction, too. Why me? With a bewildered look on his face. He'd always assumed Capitano looked down on him. He was a man who kept his thoughts to himself and barely spoke to him the whole time they'd known each other. But he occasionally brought Tartaglia along to my tea parties back in the day. So to the rest of us, it was clear that Capitano had quite a lot of respect for his young comrade. By the rest of us, I mean my tea party regulars. Arlecchino, Rosaline, and... actually, not Columbina. She was probably oblivious to it. Anyway, then the Liues situation happened. Normally, it took a lot to get under Capitano's skin, but that time he was furious. It's not really my place to talk about it, though. You can ask Tartaglia about it sometime. Basically, Tartaglia probably had the wrong idea about Capitano all along, right up until Piero revealed the letter he'd left behind. Capitano believed that despite Tartaglia's immaturity, he showed great potential. Plus, he possessed a kind of purity rarely seen among members of the Fatui. Yeah, it's one of the few things that I'd agree those two have in common. But there's one other reason why Capitano chose Tartaglia to assume command of his troops. He knew that after he was gone, several of the others would swoop in on his army like vultures. With the ones who stood to benefit the most being the rooster Pulcinella and regrader Pantalone. Once they divided Capitano's troops between them, they'd be more powerful than ever. No one would be able to stop them. So, you can see why Capitano chose to hand that letter to Piero, right? Exactly. Piero also needed to back a harbinger as soon as possible. And all things considered, Tartaglia was the best choice. Even though Tartaglia has had the support of Northland Bank for a long time, he and Pantalone are ultimately not cut from the same cloth. I'd say Capitano made a good judgment call. Anyone else caught in this situation would probably feel like they'd been hung out to dry. His best course of action will be to distance himself from any shady business, while still maintaining friendly relations with Pantalone, but seeking Pulcinella's support at the same time. What's the point in having a tea party if you don't spill a little tea? Besides, none of this is confidential anyway. Ask any journalist out there. They'll give you all the lurid details. You'll see it firsthand if you ever sit in on a session of the Snezhnaya. All the factional strife, whether open or unspoken, it plays out for all to see in that one little room. Having a voice in a Vecha is the only way to steer policies in your favor. So, every person in that room represents a particular interest group. Pantalone, for instance, represents the financial sector, and Tartaglia represents the Fatui soldiers. Personally, I have no interest in political jousting. But since I have a number of engineers and researchers under my command, I have to make their voices heard. Then there's Pulcinella, the linchpin of the Vecha. He represents politics itself. Everything involves him, so nothing can bypass him. Any issue that comes up, he knows how to mediate. That's what the Tsaritsa values most about him.
I'm starting to see why everyone is so frustrated with the way things are, but also powerless to change it. A complex web of interests connects all parties involved, and the Tsaritsa sitting at the top adds another layer of complexity. It must be nearly impossible to come up with a perfect solution.
All right, I'm done carrying this conversation. Time for you to answer a question of mine. You must have known that you can get the info you needed from me. So why was Tartaglia the first person you asked to see and not me? Huh? Jealous? As if. Wait. Oh, I think I know what it is. Columbina passed on my message to you before you left Notcry, right? I only meant you should be mindful of which side you're on. Is that actually why you didn't ask for me? Because you took that to heart? Fair enough. It's not your fault. I blame all these politicians I've been hanging around with lately. Always beating about the bush when they talk. I guess it must have rubbed off on me. Anyway, just ask for my help next time, okay? Little things like this are no problem.
Lady Marionette.
What now? Can't you see I'm on my break? Whatever it is, just leave it on my desk. I'll look at it later.
Sorry to disturb you during your break, ma'am, but I'm afraid it's an emergency.